हरे कृष्णा। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, 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 गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी, यशोदानंदन व्रजन रंजन, यशोदानंदन व्रजन रंजन, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी, यशोदानंदन व्रजन रंजन, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Gantra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. All glories to Sammal devotees, all glories to Sammal devotees, all glories to Sammal devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shishi, Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiryet Shavtam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Hya Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. So in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we are covering Canto 9, and today we will be covering Chapter 7, the Descendants of King Māndhātā. In the previous class, we covered Chapter 6, the downfall of Saubhari Muni. And that's where we also covered like the birth of King Māndhātā and how he was shocked to see the opulence of Saubhari Muni. So King Māndhātā was the emperor of the world. His capital was in Mathura. And when he saw that Saubhari Muni easily surpassed because of his mystic power, the opulence of a worldly king, the emperor of the world, he was shocked, so he renounced, and which was a little upsetting to his father. So, but at the same time, he renounced and he attained perfection. And this is where we'll continue the descendants of King Māndhātā. He had 50 daughters and 3 sons, of which we'll be covering 2 sons and their lineage. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 9th canto, chapter 7, first verse. So again, this conversation is between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Shukdev Goswami is narrating all these to Parikshit Maharaj. And Parikshit Maharaj is also emperor. He was the emperor of the world. He renounced everything. And so this is very much pleasing to Parikshit Maharaj as he's hearing as how one after another the descendants in the Sun dynasty were attaining perfection and going back home, back to Godhead, right? The destination you want to attain, if you hear about how others attained it, it's encouraging, right? You find various ways that you can follow their path. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 9th canto, chapter 7, first verse. Shri Shuka Uvacha Māndhātā putra pravaro yo amrishaha prakitititaha pitamahena pravritto yavanashvastu tatsutaha haritastasya putra abhun Māndhātā pravaraime. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, Māndhātuhu of Māndhātā, Putra Pravaraha, the prominent son, Yaha, the one, Amrishaha, by the name Amrish, Prakirtitaha, celebrated, Pitamahena, by his grandfather, Yuvanashva, Pravartaha, accepted, Yavanashvaha, named Yavanashva, Tu, and Tatsutaha, the son of Amrish, Haritaha, by the name Harita, Tasya, of Yavanashva, Putraha, the son, Abhut, became, Māndhātā, in the dynasty of Māndhātā, Pravaraha, most prominent, Ime, all of them. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Shukdev Goswami said, the most prominent among the sons of Māndhātā was he who is celebrated as Amrish. Amrish was accepted as son by his grandfather Yuvanashva. Amrish's son was Yavanashva and Yavanashva's son was Harita. In Māndhātā's dynasty, Amrish, Harita and Yavanashva were very prominent. There is no purpose, so we will continue the translation of next 2 verses. Translation 972. The serpent brothers of Narmada gave Narmada to Purukutsa. Being sent by Vasuki, she took Purukutsa to the lower region of the universe. Purport. Before describing the descendants of Purukutsa, the son of Māndhātā, Shukdev Goswami first described how Purukutsa was married to Narmada, who was induced to take him to the lower region of the universe. Now the secret is revealed in the next verse, so we are covering that. There in Rasatal, the lower region of the universe, Purukutsa, being empowered by Lord Vishnu, was able to kill all the Gandharvas who deserved to be killed. Purukutsa received the benediction from the serpents that anyone who remembers this history of his being brought by Narmada to the lower region of the universe will be assured of safety from the attack of snakes. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatadham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So here, before discussing, the descendants of Māndhātā, and two main sons were discussed, Purukutsa and Amrish. And now this Amrish is not the same Amrish as we hear of, Amrish Maharaj, who had a quarrel with Durvasa Muni. He was, again, I'm trying to remember his father's name. He was grandson of Vyosvan. And so again, we have covered in the very early chapters of 9th canto, his history. So this Amrish is, again, Shukdev Goswami, when Parikshit Maharaj expressed that he would like to know about the sons, of the Manu, Vivaswata Manu. And Vivaswata means son of Vivaswan, right? That's what the Manu is. Shardadev. And he is son of Vivaswan. And he had various sons, and then his grandson was Amrish Maharaj, who had who was offended by Durvasa Muni, but Durvasa Muni thought that he has been offended by Amrish Maharaj. So there was this confusion. And we covered that story very well, and learned the lessons that one should stay humble and try to avoid any kind of offenses. And that particular lesson continues here. So I'm able to gather 5 lessons in this particular chapter. The first lesson we already covered in the last translation, where Purukutsa's deeds in Rasatal, that instills fearlessness, because by remembering that history that he was brought to Rasatal by Narmada, it gives us safety from the attack of snakes. That doesn't mean you just walk between the snakes. Right? We have to be intelligent in our understanding. So, earlier when Parikshit Maharaj had expressed this desire to hear about the descendants of Vivaswata Manu, Shukdev Goswami had narrated that it will take hundreds of years and still those narrations cannot be completed. So and he said that he would be covering only the important aspects. So here, when he says that the 3 in the descendants of Māndhātā, Amrish Maharaj, Harita and Yavanashva, were very prominent. So they did some amazing deeds. But then he didn't go further into the details of those deeds. Other Puranas, they go, like Purukutsa's going to Rasatal was because there were Gandharvas. And Rasatal is where the Nagas reside, the snakes, right? And Lord Vasuki, he had instilled that to say that, to Narmada, to get Purukutsa to come, because he was a great warrior. And the Gandharvas were after Nagkanyas. So I'm giving you a summary of what was the case. And Narmada took the responsibility, and, the snakes, the Nagas, they offered Narmada, who was their sister, as, she was married to Purukutsa. And then she requested her husband to come to the Rasatal region and kill all the Gandharvas who were causing havoc on the Nagas, right? To, save the daughters of the Nagas. And so whoever remembers this incident is assured safety from snakes. So that's the first lesson, that sometimes, even just by remembering, but there is also a lesson that one should not be offending, just trying to use their power. Gandharvas are from the higher region, right? Higher planetary systems, Gandharva Loka. And they're going to lower region thinking that their prowess would allow them to take someone else's property. And that is a janaprad, right? And one should not commit janaprad because it will have bad implications. Now, as the various descendants are being described in this particular chapter, it comes to the level where the son of Tribandhu, his name was Satyavrata, he is described. And he is celebrated as Trishanku. So the story of Trishanku comes in. And in summary, the king Satyavrata, he was a very pious king. And he gained enough piety to be elevated to the heavenly planets at the end of his life. However, he desired, he was a very handsome, very handsome king, and he was very much attached to his body, right? He had silky hair, very attractive features, and so he was so much attached to the body that he approached his spiritual master Vasishtha Muni, the sage Vasishtha, and he said that, could you help me go to heaven in my current body? Right? Well, Vasishtha denied that request, saying that it is improper, right? It is not possible for one to go to heavenly planets in their body. So at that time, being rejected by his spiritual master, he continued to move forward and try to see who he can approach. And there were 100 sons of Vasishtha. So he approached them and he said, could you help me? I have already placed this request in front of my spiritual master Vasishtha, who is your father, and he refused. But you are very powerful sages, and you can help me with this endeavor to go to heaven in my current body, physical body. So they heard him, and they were surprised that he is putting a plea in front of them when their father had rejected. So they immediately chastised. They said, no, this is not possible, O king. It's not possible to go to heavenly planets, and your spiritual master, our father, has already instructed you not to do that, not to continue in this body, because it's not possible. And at that time, he wished them well, and at the same time he said that, well, you are not able to help me, your father was not able to help me, so I'll look for another source, right? I'll try to find another solution. Yes, Prabhu.
Isn't that Guru Ninda?
Guru Avagya, it's one of the Namaprads. Right.
If he rejects.
Yes, but he is not looking from that perspective. Yes, that is an offense he is committing. Yet at the same time, he is so much attached to that wish, right? That he dares to say in front of 100 sages that, first of all, I'm committing this offense, but I'm continuing to pursue further a solution. That enrages Shakti, one of the sons of Vasishtha Muni, the sage Vasishtha. And he immediately chastises that you are such a lowly person, you have been instructed by your spiritual master, you have been instructed by the sages, it's been proven by the scriptures. So again, we have three references that we rely on: Sadhu, Guru and Shastra. And all three have rejected, and yet you want to continue on this endeavor. And you want to go in this body, right? That because you're thinking that you're very handsome, you're very attractive looking, you're very youthful, so you become a Chandal. So he's cursed. And he does not pay much heed at that moment. So he goes back to his shivir, his tent. And when he sleeps overnight, his form is changed. The silken cloth becomes like rags, rough rags. His features, his complexion darkens. There were all kind of, body parts. They're no more attractive. They're actually twisted. And he becomes really, per se, like in the terms, ugly looking, like a Chandal, like, the form of a Chandal. Now imagine this. When he gets up, all his kingsmen immediately leave him, looking that, okay, the curse has taken its effect. His relatives, they leave him. He's abandoned by his very kingsmen and relatives. Yet at the same time, his attachment to that wish hasn't gone away. He still wants to go to heaven in his body. He does not have that same attractive body anymore. It doesn't have that, looks anymore. And so, realizing that there is tussle between Vishwamitra and Vasishtha, he desires to go to Vishwamitra, sage Kaushik, right? And Vishwamitra, that's the title of sage Kaushik, means the one who is a friend of the universe. Vishwa, Mitra means friend, Vishwa means universe, so one who is friend of the universe. And while Vishwamitra was known, sage Kaushik was known for his rage, he was also known that if he felt compassion towards someone, he would give up all his, acquired austerity to satisfy that person's needs. So here, Trishanku approaches. So again, he gets this title a little later on, Trishanku. So King Satyavata, he approaches Vishwamitra. And having approached Vishwamitra, he starts that I have been, cursed by the sons of sage Vasishtha, because I have this desire, and sage Vasishtha also refused. Please have compassion on me. Now Vishwamitra hears. First of all, he hears that his dire enemy, right? He considered Vasishtha. Vasishtha didn't consider Vishwamitra as his enemy, but Vishwamitra considered, because Vasishtha had given him the title of, a saintly or kingly saint, right? Rajarishi. But he did not give him the title of Brahma Rishi. And Vishwamitra was always looking for that Vasishtha should accept me as Brahma Rishi. So here, now all this is coming from Ramayana. So this particular chapter does not have this story that I'm narrating at length. So here, first of all, something that Vasishtha cannot give, I must give. That because he was a Kshatriya, right? And then the second thing is feeling compassion that, this king has been unnecessarily being cursed in this form. And the third factor is there is an opportunity to do something that no one has done in the past. Nobody has sent another being into the heaven with the body, right? That kind of reminds me, traveling to other planets. Srila Prabhupada wrote that book, right? Easy Journey to Other Planets. And once it so happened that Srila Prabhupada was, visiting, of course, different temples. At one of the temples, they told that there is a magician who can show different things, magic tricks. And so Srila Prabhupada, he said, call him. So the magician was brought into Srila Prabhupada's room and the devotees were gathered. So the magician, he was showing various tricks, taking out and feathers and changing the color of the feathers, showing that the money was, coming, like rolling away from Prabhupada, and so many tricks, making money out from behind the ears and so many other tricks. And so Srila Prabhupada said, so can you make the money come, like appear? He's like, no, not just like that. It's simply a trick. And he said, so can you take care of the real problems of life? So magician said, what are those? So Srila Prabhupada said, and the devotees are feeling that, the spiritual master is being, made fun of. Yeah, so Srila Prabhupada, in his grave mood, he said, can you remove the miseries of this world? Birth, death, old age, disease. Can you get one out? He's like, no, I cannot do that. Prabhupada said, but I can do that. Right? And it all starts with simply chanting of the mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada immediately defeated that magician with all his tricks, saying, I can easily do that, by engaging one in devotional service. Once it so happened that many, sometimes Indians, they would also see, oh, there is an Indian Swami in New York, right? At the matchless gift shop. They would come and visit. So once couple of Indians they were visiting, so they opened the door and they looked inside, and they saw Srila Prabhupada, sitting with his disciples, and they said, "Swamiji, give us blessings." So he said, "These are my blessings," pointed towards his disciples who were like shaved and, most of them were brahmacharis. And at that time, they immediately, paid obeisance from a distance and left, because they could not just surrender so easily. Right? And in one of the gatherings during the lecture, Srila Prabhupada, when he was giving the lecture, one person asked that, "Srila Prabhupada, how much effort is it to go back? It seems like devotional service is very difficult. How much effort, how long will it take for one to attain, to pure love of God?" Srila Prabhupada said, "You can get it instantly. All you need to do is surrender fully." So once you surrender fully, which means to give up your desire and take the desire of Krishna. Anukulena Krishna Anushilinam. So once you start serving Krishna, instantly with the surrender, you can attain pure love of God. So here, this king, he wants to go to heaven in his physical body. Now his body is not attractive anymore. So here, Vishwamitra, he had to again attain so much power to be able to send him. So he left his family in care of King Satyavrata, who was in the form of Chandal. And this is where he desired that, when he had to, protect the family of Vishwamitra, King Satyavrata commits a couple of more offenses, 2 offenses. One is he kills a calf, right? Which happens to be the calf of Surbi on top of that. Second is, he was deluded, so he eats unsanctified meat. And that's when he gets the name Trishanku, because of the 3 offenses he had committed. First is Guru Avagya, right? Guru Avagya, the Namaprad we talked about, offense to the holy name. Second is killing of a calf, and third is eating of unsanctified meat. So that's where he gets the name Trishanku. And when Vishwamitra returns, he uses his prowess to start ascending the king in his body, in this Chandal body, up to the heaven. So as king is going to the heaven, and he enters, heaven, at that time, Indra is shocked. Nobody has ever come to heaven in their current body. And this king Satyavrata is trying to get in here, so he starts pushing him down. So as Trishanku is kicked off from heaven, he is falling. And at that time, he calls out to Vishwamitra that, "Vishwamitra, you sent me to heaven, but Indra has kicked me out. And I am falling, please save me, please save me." And at that time, Vishwamitra hears this cry and immediately stops him in the air. So now Trishanku, as he's falling, right? Sometimes when you fall, your head down. So he's held up there. So Vishwamitra, he's offended. He's like, "I have given my word that I'll send him to a heaven. So if Indra doesn't accept, I will create another heaven." So in the southern hemisphere, he starts creating another heaven with all the heavenly planets and stars. And now he says that this particular heaven would be without Indra because Trishanku is there. And he starts creating a whole series of living entities, right? It means the embodied forms for the living entities for this heaven. And when he starts creating other demigods for this heaven, that's why all the demigods are shocked. Because when he decided that there won't be any Indra, they were thinking, there won't be anyone to really accompany Trishanku. But when he starts creating other demigods for this new heaven, that's when, with Indra, all the demigods approach Vishwamitra and they plead to him, "Please stop this." And then Indra says that, "Well, I have given my word. Shishi Gauranitai ki jai." Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai. Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. So here, the king is hanging upside down in the sky, and a heaven is created for him in the southern hemisphere, because that's where he was hanging. And for that, Vishwamitra starts a whole series of living entities. Some of them are, do you know any of those living entities? Means again, the embodied entities that Vishwamitra created? Okay. Brahma created cow. He created water buffalo. Yeah. So again, there are many of them. So tiger was created by Brahma. Cheetah was created by Vishwamitra. The regular elephants were created by Brahma. The bigger and ferocious African elephants were created by Vishwamitra. There is even cilantro versus mint combination. So there would, like, parallel, he's creating a parallel universe. Not just the heaven, he's creating a parallel universe, because heaven has to administer something, right? Heavenly demigods, they would be administering some part of the universe. So he's creating the whole universe. And he decides with this process. Again, there are two different references. One says that Trishanku, he was held with a pole and turned into a palm tree, and the coconut appeared. And then there is another aspect where it's referred that in the parallel universe, Vishwamitra decided to, humans would not be born from womb. They will be born as from the tree. And the coconut was the initial head part, so as it comes. So there are various of these descriptions in Puranas, and sometimes it's like coconut represents the Shanku's head versus coconut, being the human form, as they would not be born from womb, rather growing as a fruit. But then, when the demigods appeared and they pleaded to Vishwamitra, they said that let this heaven be there, let those demigods be there, let what you have created be there, but please don't proceed further. So when this has been sanctioned by the demigods, Vishwamitra is satisfied, because he has satisfied his promise that Trishanku has been, provided a heaven where he can rule. So, and there is another request that demigods plead. They say that let Trishanku be there in his current form, upside down. Right? So in the southern hemisphere, the southern cross in the crux area. So that represents Trishanku, in the stars, constellation. In astronomy, it's given. So the southern cross represents Trishanku, and he's still hanging there upside down. So be careful what you wish for, you might get it. Is he able to enjoy that heaven? No. Vishwamitra took care of his promise. He got the fame for having created a parallel universe. And Trishanku, though in heaven, is not in heaven, because he is hanging upside down. Can you really enjoy anything hanging upside down in mid-air? So, again, it teaches us a lesson that we should be careful with our wishes. Right? We should understand the purpose of life. And the purpose of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. And that should be the goal of life. Not just to advance to better facilities or to get to heavenly planets and all. Srila Prabhupada used to say that we devotees can, continue our devotion service even under a tree. Beneath a tree we can continue. It is for the materialists, for people to come and take to devotion service, we build big temples so that people can come and associate and understand this devotion service. The great philosophy that's behind. To be able to take to it, attend the classes, understand the knowledge, be able to share and have the devotee association to be able to grow. So this temple is a great facility for people to come. So it's a spiritual hospital for the materially inflicted living entities. Why do I say materially inflicted living entities? Because materially inflicted means ones who are seeking sense gratification, to be able to transcend the desire of the senses, to be able to go back home, back to Godhead. And why do we want to engage in devotional service? Because as living entities, that is our true nature. Dharma means nature, right? And Jivera Swarup hoye Krishnera Nityadas. So the eternal constitutional position of a living entity is as an eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna. So when we are eternally situated in our proper position, that's when we are at peace and we derive happiness. So it's for our own purification that we serve the Lord, because that gives us full satisfaction inside and the happiness. So here the lesson is, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. And that may cause further miseries. If he had just continued the course of time, with his life ending, gone to heavenly planets and continued in his devotional service, he might have very well returned back home, back to Godhead. Now there's King Satyavrata, Trishanku. He had a son, Harishchandra. Right? Now we all immediately understand, the king Harishchandra. And we also have heard how sage Vishwamitra appeared in his dream and he had offered the whole kingdom. So there was a Rajasuya sacrifice he was performing, and Vishwamitra was one of the Hota priests in this particular sacrifice. So in one of the nights, he appears in King Harishchandra's dream, and as Dakshina he receives the whole kingdom and everything. And when next day Harishchandra reveals that in my dream I have already given, and Vishwamitra comes, yes, I have come to take my Dakshina. At that time he gives, and Vasishtha, he's offended. He's like, you tricked him. Appearing in his dream, you took everything from him. And on top of that, you're asking, after everything, you're asking for more wealth to put him in difficulty. So at that time, Vasishtha and Vishwamitra, they had a fight. Vasishtha said to Vishwamitra, you turn into a bird. And Vishwamitra says, you turn into a duck. And so these two fought for many years in this form. While at the same time, Harishchandra was, after leaving his kingdom, giving it to Vishwamitra, he was trying to collect wealth. So he had to sell his wife, his son, himself to collect that wealth and give it to Vishwamitra. And then so many things happened. Well, now, afterwards, Harishchandra was returned, Vishwamitra returned everything to Harishchandra because it was a test Vishwamitra was conducting. Vasishtha misunderstood that test to be, a trick or cheating. So again, now that we have talked about Rohit, there is something else that happened before Rohit's birth. Harishchandra did not have a son, right? So just like King Chitraketu, he was very morose, and sometimes saintly persons, they have compassion over such souls when they are very morose. So, and Devashi Narad, sage Narad, he appeared, he visited King Amrish, and he encouraged him to worship Varun Dev, the Lord of the ocean. To worship Varun Dev so that he can get a son. And Amrish Maharaj, he worships Varun Dev and he gets a son. But then when he is worshipping Varun Dev, Varun Dev is not agreeing easily. So just to satisfy Varun Dev, he said, I will perform a Varun Yajna and I will sacrifice the son you will give me in that Varun Yajna. Then Varun Dev says, Tathastu, so be it. So a son is born, his name is Rohit. And as the son is born, Varun Dev comes to Amrish Maharaj and says, Harishchandra. King Harishchandra, he comes and says that now that you have a son, you should sacrifice, you should perform the Varun Yajna and sacrifice him in the Yajna, in the fire sacrifice. At that time, King Harishchandra says that when an animal is born, it's only after 10 days it's pure enough to be sacrificed. He buys 10 days by saying that. Varun Dev says, okay. After 10 days, Varun Dev again comes to King Harishchandra and says, now the 10 days have passed, now you should sacrifice. And at that time King Harishchandra says, well, when the animal has grown its teeth, then it is pure enough to be sacrificed. After some time, when the child has grown his first set of teeth, Varun Dev again comes and says, now the animal has grown teeth. Now you should perform the sacrifice. At that time, Amrish Maharaj, because of his affection for his son, he says, when the teeth have fallen, then the animal is pure enough to be sacrificed. Varun Dev says, okay. So now all the teeth have fallen, and Varun Dev appears again. He says, now the animal, has lost all his first set of teeth. Now you should sacrifice. King Harishchandra says, well, when the new set of teeth have come, then the animal is pure enough to be sacrificed. Varun Dev says, okay. So after some time, the new set of teeth, they grow back. And at that time, Varun Dev comes again. And King Harishchandra, he hears that he should be sacrificing. He says, well, when the animal is, with proper samskar, he is initiated as a Kshatriya, then he is pure enough to be sacrificed. Varun Dev says, okay. So patient he is, right? And he understands that this is a father's affection, and he is hoping that the affection will give away. Rohit, in the meantime, understands that his father intends to sacrifice him in a Varun Yajna. Right? He doesn't want to be sacrificed. Because you don't know what the destination is. He would go to Varun Lok and so forth. So he doesn't want to be sacrificed. So he picks up his bow and arrow and leaves for the forest. He leaves his father. And when he's in the forest, at that time he hears that his father has been Varun Trasya. Right? He's been inflicted by Varun by a disease called dropsy. Dropsy is a disease in fishes where the body swells like a foam. It becomes like foam. And he hears how his father's abdomen has grown and his body has become like foam. His body has grown. And he is suffering from dropsy. So he wants to return. He's thinking, oh, because of me having run away from home, my father is suffering. So as he wants to come back home, Indra takes the form of an old Brahman and instructs Rohit to go on pilgrimage. So he goes on pilgrimage, and about a year passes. He finishes his pilgrimage. He wants to come back. Again, Indra appears as a Brahman. So for 6 years, every year, Indra would appear as an old Brahman and send Rohit back in the forest. He would not let him return. And finally, on the 6th year, Rohit understands that he would not be able to come back. So he purchases Sunashepa, the second son of Ajigartha. And then he brings this son, Sunashepa, and gives him to his father for sacrifice. And King Harishchandra uses the second son of Ajigartha and sacrifice him in this, Varun Yajna. And at that time, Varun Dev and all the other demigods are satisfied, and the king Harishchandra is relieved of dropsy. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada said that the Sati Pratha and human slavery, buying of other humans, has been there for time immemorial. These two activities, which is shocking, right? In today's time, you hear slavery and you're like shocked, how's that possible? So back in those days, this has been carried out. And why did I refer to Sati? Because once there was a king, he had gone to the forest and there he died. And his prime queen wanted to become Sati. And as she was to take on that, on the pyre, her position, immediately one of the sages, he recognized that she is pregnant, and he forbade her. And so, actually this story will come in the next chapter. This is the story of Sagara, how Sagara was born. And how, the co-wives of this queen, they, administer her poison so that she would die and the baby in the womb would also die. But by providence, it did not affect her. And the king, Sagara, was born, with the poison. Sa means with, Gara means poison. Sagara, the one who is born with poison, but who did not die, basically. That will continue in the next chapter. So here we hear, again, we hear of Harishchandra as Satya, Vrata Harishchandra, because afterwards he did satisfy, Vishwamitra by carrying out his statement. And he did carry out his duties. Now, when he's carrying out this sacrifice, there are 4 kind of priests identified, and their positions is identified. So, in this Kali age, the best yajna is Sankirtan yajna, chanting of the holy name. So this must be back in the Treta Yuga time, because that's when the fire sacrifices were important. In this particular sacrifice, Vishwamitra was the Hota priest. Hota priest is the chief priest who is offering oblations in the fire. Jamadagni was the Adavaryu. So, Adavaryu priest was responsible for chanting the mantras from the Yajurveda. And Vashishta, sage Vashishta, was the Brahma, the chief Brahmanical priest. The one who is carrying out the various activities. Not the offering, but all other activities of the sacrifice. And Ayasya was the Udgata, reciter of the hymns of the Samved. So in this sacrifice, when all the demigods were satisfied, King Indra, he presented a golden chariot to King Harishchandra. And at that time, Vishwamitra gave him transcendental knowledge. And thus, Shukdev Goswami, he describes how King Harishchandra attained perfection in his very life and went back home, back to Godhead. So this is where the chapter ends. So it is very important again that sometimes because of others, 2 saintly persons may get into quarrel. But they should understand, before even starting a conflict, they should understand and have a conversation as what was the intent. Vashishta started to quarrel with Vishwamitra, thinking Vishwamitra was tricking, while Vishwamitra was simply carrying out a test. And King Harishchandra, passed that test. And so he is celebrated very well as Satyavrata Harishchandra. And last chapter, the 5th lesson, means in this particular chapter, the last lesson is that we are in this material world. Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport that Janam Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshanam Darshanam. So in this material world, the 4 kind of miseries will continue. Again, the 3 kinds of miseries are Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik and Adhyatmik. But then this, caught in this birth, death, old age, disease, we are constantly going through the cycle and in miserable situation. And there are 2 qualities of this material world, which are Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. It's a place of misery and it is impermanent. Yet, at the same time, there is a great benediction. And the benediction is the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So our plea is to please continue chanting and engage in devotional service and simply be happy to go back home, back to Godhead. So that's the main lesson. And here again, Shukdev Goswami is narrating how King Harishchandra, King Amrish and so many other kings, they were able to go back home, back to Godhead. Which is the goal. Who is looking for? Parikshit Maharaj is looking for. Right? Any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu.
Your point earlier
Yes.
about
Hare
be
Krishna.
careful what you wish to.
Yes.
It was very nice that you brought that up. Gave us a chance to reflect on it. Because, I've been hearing that, some version of that for about half of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, in the context of devotional service, it doesn't quite work devotee comes before the Lord and says, I wish for this for your service, or as we chant, please engage me in your service. That aphorism really doesn't work. It seems more like for the materialist, or for someone whose wishes are materially tinged.
Mm-hmm.
That saying would be very apropos. But for someone, and I'm not posing myself in this category, someone more advanced in devotion service, not be desirable.
श्री श्री राधा मंदिर मखन की जय. श्री श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान.
Very nicely put. So again,